Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like you. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTGNerdGirl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Reuben Bressler.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, everything is lovely. We're back in action. We have, you happen to miss our pre-show where we discuss all sorts of weird little things. Subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early, but we kick it off with our first pick and our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat. But subscribe first to get 2 chances to win. That ends at 11:30 Eastern, so you got about 29 minutes to go. And support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. That is, of course, thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. It is time to talk about Streets of New Capenna. Now, we've done this many different ways. Sometimes we go over the cards and we talk about the stuff. Sometimes we talk about stuff, go over the cards. I figure we'll talk about the stuff first, and we'll go over the cards. It's fine. Ultimately, they published a bunch of stuff today on Streets of New Capenna and its makeup and all that good stuff. And we see some of that here on your screen right now. If I can pull it up correctly here. Very nice. Resize the window. So, with Streets of New Capenna, they came out with the product overview, this being the set boosters, but they tell you a little bit more about how you get set boosters and what's in the set booster contents. I have a question. All right. We've been doing this for years. Yeah. Does anyone use these graphics? Like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there actual utilitarian? I think it's kind of cool.
There you go.
I use them because I take the information from them and make a video out of it for people because nobody wants to use these.
There you go.
See? All right.
Now,
that's what I needed to hear.
Follow-up question. Does that mean, well, first of all, they are necessary in that you need to take the unpasteurized information and distill it into something that can be actually, drank by the public.
Sure.
So is the information in the form that it's given at the best that it can be, or is there a way that it can be delivered better?
As a content creator, selfishly, I like the graphic because what I do is I just yoink the graphic and then I put it side by side with a spreadsheet that calculates the value of all the items on the actual graphic. And that's really nice. If it's a text version, I can show it on screen, but it's not very clean. And I'm assuming this is the same thing that they use as a slideshow during their live streams or during anything else. So it's convenient for that case to be able to pop up large amounts of text in different ways. In the article, it's not necessary, but they've already made it for like live coverage and for like Q&A session type things. Or if someone needs a quick piece of information, they can just send them that graphic. I don't know, but it seems convenient.
And people, and clearly because you're making the content, people still want the information regardless of how kind of clunky this delivery method is. This does not, I don't know what this says. This is too many.
Yes.
This is a lot of words.
It's fine.
Yeah, so there's 2 things. People will either just show, pop this up and then just tell you about each item. So it's like a news type thing. People will just break down the articles for you and give that to you in a 10-minute YouTube video. My videos are a little different. They're economy based. So it's more like, 3 uncommons, that's worth nothing. The Gilded Foil Showcase, that's worth X dollars. And I convert the dollars to gems usually just to give people an idea of what all of this works out to be. Because sometimes they're like, 1,200,000 gems worth of value in this pack. And I'm like, you're giving us 97 uncommon altars that are technically worth 600 gems apiece, according to your math.
Now,
so Evan, there's an answer.
No, that's wonderful. Trust me, I'll take any use case whatsoever.
Same.
Because I've always been like, who is this for? What is going on? Like, I like information too. I just want to see if it's useful.
It's for Nerd Girl to help explain to us stupid people,
right? Dumb people who
cannot be bothered to do that math.
Right.
So thank you for that. Thank you for baby birding us this information.
It pops, right? Like that graphic pops. If this was just now bullet point text blended in with all that other text, we would probably skim over most of it and not get the information we needed.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So there are going to be box toppers, which are going to be traditional foil Gala Greeters. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But it's very interesting. Now, if you purchase a display, you may also be eligible for the special foil buy a box promo. This is in-store only for Jaxus the Troublemaker. Now, this isn't on any of our lists, so we can talk about it here. It is a red and 3 generic mana for a 2/3 legendary human warrior. It's rare. And it says red mana, tap, discard a card, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and quote, when this creature dies, draw a card, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery, and it has blitz for red and a generic mana. This is a new mechanic where you can cast it for its blitz cost, and you sacrifice it into the start of the next end step, and you draw a card when it dies. So this is neat. It's a neat card.
Now, blitz, sorry, go ahead.
This is just worse than the Kiki-Jiki saga, right?
It's
yes.
It's pretty bad. Generally.
Similar idea, but you have to discard a card to do the thing that Kiki-Jiki does for the same mana cost, basically, and this costs a red, not colorless. Like, this just seems worse. It's more immediate, but...
It's more immediate. That's the payoff, is the speed. The blitz... Well, first of all, blitz is going to be the keyword for the Riveters.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Because it feels very similar to Dash.
It is. Just to get the exact wording correctly here, it says, blitz says, if you cast a spell for its blitz cost, it gains haste, and quote, whenever this creature dies, draw a card, and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So it's a little bit of sneak attack, a little bit of dash, but
well, you also
kind of both.
Importantly, you do draw a card also.
Right.
It does replace itself as opposed to the dash where it would return itself to its owner's hand. This card in particular, first of all, is a pugilist. Like, is just a person that punches you for a living, which is great. I love that. And you want to have a street tough, you want to have that like scuffed up kid in suspenders and nice pants motif. Did we get Jaxus's pronouns? I did not pay attention enough to get that. But I love this archetype of like the snot-nosed kid trying to make their way in a tough world in the streets of New Capenna. I think that it's a really fun archetype of a character.
Agreed. I hope that we get to see, because the whole gang vibe, this is clearly some sort of enforcer type character. And I do hope we get to see a wide range of all of those things. Maybe some of the brains, maybe some of the money, like that kind of stuff would be really interesting.
Yeah, I want the gangs of New York kind of characters to show up.
Well, and I mean, there's so many places to pull, like Peaky Blinders, Gangs of New York, The Godfather, like all of the different, like On the Waterfront. All of that awesome flavor I just love it so much.
One last thing about this card I want to note. I think it's very unique and worth pointing out that you can create a token of any other target creature you control. That includes legendary. A lot of times they say you can't copy legends because of their triggers and their death triggers and their end of the battlefield triggers and blah, blah, blah. You can copy your spirit dragons and get cool spirit dragon stuff out of this. And I think that's great.
Okay.
So go nuts.
That's relevant.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is neat. So there are going to be draft boosters per usual. Again, we have draft booster contents, which MTG Nerd Girls of the world get to use, which is nice. The collector boosters, which are some of the most gorgeous packaging I still have ever seen.
That was a low blow, Evan. I haven't paper drafted in years, and that hit me in the feels.
I wasn't trying to hit any feels. I thought it's kind of cool.
Scroll back up to that beautiful collector box, though, because this is the prettiest piece of packaging that I've ever seen in my life.
It's so good.
It's gorgeous. Also, I'm so happy that they went away from, hey, every set is in Balearin font. No, we don't need that. Look at this box. Look at this crazy, like, Miami nightlife color and font, and everything about this box makes me happy.
Yeah.
Wizards definitely went through, everything was different and unique and its own weird fonts and stuff. And then everything was Bellerin there for a minute. And then it kind of went back and then it kind of went. Like, I don't know. It feels like an art director's gone back and forth on that many times.
But the bottom line for me is this is the prettiest piece of Magic the Gathering packaging since I've played Magic.
It is very, very pretty. Do note that the pre-release packs come with family boosters, which is really interesting to get your unique family that you chose to be a part of.
Oh, right. I forgot that was I thought we were ordering family dinners, and I forgot that for a minute that families were a thing in New Capenna.
Big family.
Briefly, I thought that we were ordering booster boxes for the family.
Look,
I lived in a world where that was a reality.
I have a feeling that if Mysterious Limousine, which is the bundle promo, if this card is anywhere close to good in standard, it'll be one of the best standard formats of all time because it's fun and it's silly and it's dumb. Mysterious Limousine is 2 white and 3 generic mana for a 4/4 rare artifact vehicle. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 other target creature that doesn't say opponents. Any other target creature until Mysterious Limousine leaves the battlefield. If a creature is put into exile this way, return each other card exile with a Mysterious Limousine to the battlefield under its owner's control. You crew it for 2 mana. You're swapping. You can throw creatures back and forth in the limousine, out of the limousine. Mm-hmm. I love the flavor. I just love it.
Yeah, I could see. You're the mob boss in the back of the limousine, and you have a driver, and they take you around to do your various business. People get in, do the business, and then they leave. You tell them to give you your money, or you give them the loan, or you slip them a little halo, or whatever it is, and you go about your business.
Yeah, I think this card's got the numbers to be good or be terrible.
Right,
like this could be, Yorion-ish. This could be Thassa Deep Dwelling-ish, or it could be Trapjaw Snapper, the 5/5 from Ixalan, right? It's close. The fact that it doesn't get swept up in Wraths and dies immediately to Doomblade is a big deal.
Right.
And also the flavor, as you mentioned, absolutely perfect. Like, it's such a good name. We have actual cars, which is a big deal. Like, we had Fleet Wheel Cruiser. We had a bunch of stuff in Kaladesh that was kind of cars, but they were still like Toontown cars.
Right.
These are just
limousines.
Vehicles that run on gasoline. You know what I mean? Like,
sure. They're cars, which is great. Yeah. So we'll talk about the box toppers here in a little bit. There was talking about here about some of the booster fun treatments they have. The new Elspeth looks absolutely amazing, which is incredible. Again, with the box toppers we'll talk about here shortly. There is the Art Deco treatment, which looks incredible. Like, let's go. Love the Art Deco stuff. Yep. The Gilded Age treatment and the Golden Age treatment rather, and the Gilded cards, which also look gorgeous. And right here, look, Wizards. One day you will figure out how to showcase these cards in a way that looks interesting and cool. I don't think you've gotten there yet. I want you to get there. I assure you, I want nothing more than for this to look really cool. Like, do you need to buy a rig or like make some special little plastic pieces that'll turn the thing? Because this needs to be like a 4 to 5 second GIF that repeats and not some weird stoppy motion thingy that kind of shows some gleam on it. I think we can do better. That's
get some of that old QVC commercial.
Slow
rotate.
Right.
I mean, there is a certain amount of manpower that can go into these things. And I feel like Evan always knows how to do everything better, buy a rig, do a thing. And then when it comes to like, hey, Evan, can we do this thing better or do this other thing? And he's like, that costs money.
That takes time and effort.
It does cost money.
I don't make $1 billion revenue. Look, all I'm saying is
true.
I want Wizards to do well. I like the cards and I think they're gorgeous. And I'm just saying, like, maybe they can invest in a rig or a setup to help them do this because I want them to look better.
I think the more important point here is that someday, in addition to finding a way to show them off, they will also stumble upon a foiling process that is good.
They already have. That's that makes me mad because some sets are fine and some sets are not. Can we just make the one set good? Like the Kaldheim collector boosters were just atrocious, and then the Strixhaven and the Crimson Vow are like crispy flat. Like, can we just print those ones?
Right. And I mean, and some of it is about the humidity, and you can put stuff in the 65% humidity thing and flatten them out. I'm just saying.
Again, billion-dollar company. You can figure out how to print cards that don't curl up if they are not kept in a humidor.
But that's the thing. Some of mine are and some of them aren't. So like there's two foiling processes here, right?
Right.
So one thing before we get to the cards we want to talk about, I wanted to point out, this is really interesting. A Southeast Asia exclusive was to collect all 6 family treasure tokens with the purchase of one collector display box. So you would get one of these, I guess, per box, and they're only available in that particular region. And they're doing, the box toppers are region specific as well. So Wizards is really going deep on promos that are difficult to get, quite frankly.
I've always been kind of torn on the like region exclusive things. Even when they're available only in the US, I am not usually a fan of that. Right. Things like this is a little bit more okay. Let me let you know what you guys think. I had a big problem with the War of the Spark Japanese alternate planeswalkers only in the Japanese packs that were not available here.
Right. They were available here. And Wizards did make a point to allow stores to buy certain amounts of Japanese product. And so if your store didn't give you the ability to buy Japanese product, they might have just gotten a little bit of it and then they might have sold it somewhere else. So
it was just so limited.
It was very limited, though. It was very limited. Not going to lie on that.
If it's included in the booster, I feel like it should be across all platforms. I think these exclusive like box toppers is pretty sweet, and that will make it a really cool collector item.
Right. Yeah. Now, when Wizards does things similar to this, or at least in the past, they've done stuff like that. And for War of the Spark is a good example, where, Wizards can't tip their hand, but they can say something like, we're going to make Japanese boxes available at distribution. And when that comes down the pike, you go, well, yeah, you always make some Japanese boxes available, foreign language or, non-English or whatever. But like, why are you specifically pointing out we can order, more than the average amount of Japanese booster boxes? And later on, you find out why. But in the world of, sort of the running game stores and websites, you have to make those numbers and those calls before they tell you what they're doing. So a lot of times people are just like, I don't want to risk it, because like if it doesn't work out, then you're kind of stuck. And if it does, then great, but it's not always that way.
I think it's a cool reward. I think it's a cool bone to throw to, non-English speaking countries to give them something special. I agree with NerdGirl. I much prefer it when it has nothing to do with booster packs and comes with box toppers or extra promos. Like these treasure tokens, the 5 families, and I'm assuming Nixilis is the chalice at the 6th one,
right?
Or it's just Halo,
maybe,
and that's the treasure.
I mean, but you can't put in a wine glass.
The
cocktail glass.
Halo is what is the plot here? Halo is ground up angels. Is that what we're doing?
It's Angel's essence. It's not angel dust.
Angel's essence.
Angel's essence.
It's gasoline, except for instead of dinosaurs, it's angels.
Right. It's angel juice. Right. We get it.
But you put it in your drink, and it's not supposed to be an alcohol or a drug. So why would you put it in your drink? Is it supposed to be like caffeine? Like, I don't understand.
Maybe.
It's definitely not drugs. It's not drugs.
Sugar? Is it just sugar? Is it just the only way that you can get the taste of sweetness in your mouth in Capenna?
Halo is carbs. Halo makes you fat. Right, all right, let's move on. Let's move on.
We need a dietitian. What we need is the FDA to come in and tell us how crypto drug work happens. Crypto as in fake and cryptozoology, except for drugs.
Right. I need my HFTs, my Halo fungible tokens.
There we go.
Let's move over here to the cards we want to talk about this week real fast. My first card I want to talk about was Devilish Valet. That features the Cabaretti, I believe it is the family, the Naya faction there of the families. Devilish Valet is a red 2 generic mana for a 1/3 rare devil warrior with trample and haste. Those are really wonderful words. It has Alliance, which is a term you've heard many times now, but it is an ability word, I believe is the right way to put it. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, double Devilish Valet's power until end of turn. So alliances, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control. And hot damn, this thing gets really scary, really fast. And like, I know it just looks like a 3-mana 1/3, but it looks like a game ender to me.
Yeah. I mean,
it's going to depend. This is going to be one of those sort of very creature dependent explosive hands, or you just end up with like one too many pump spells and it kind of fizzles out. They have one removal spell and all your little guys, because you want to pump a bunch of guys in super quickly, will just kind of fizzle. So it'll depend on how good the removal is in the set, I think.
But to raise the alarms, and you're dealing, 12 damage or whatever?
16, yeah.
16 damage, let's go.
You're dealing 16 damage with Devilish Valet if you put in 4 1/1s. Gather the Townsfolk makes it a 4/3 trample. That's good enough, right? Like, that's fine. That's good on rate. And if you just make 5 creatures, you're attacking for 32. Double is a very scary word.
It's a very scary word.
And so this is one to keep an eye on, and this is a pyrostatic pummeler. Is the bottom line. This is a combo card.
Right. This is a card that will sneak up and kill you if you don't watch out, which is why it's always exciting to me. Next card I want to talk about here is Nixilis the Adversary. So there was a shady, shadowy adversary that was fighting the families in New Capenna, and it turned out to be Nixilis. And so for red and black and generic mana, it's a 3 loyalty mythic legendary planeswalker Nixilis with Casualty X. This is our first casualty card. Casualty lets you copy spells, and for this one, you get to copy a planeswalker. So Casualty X, the copy isn't legendary and has starting loyalty of X. As you cast this spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power X, and when you do, copy the spell, the copy becomes a token. So hot damn. And there just so happens to be a red-black sacrifice deck that would love something like this. So it has 3 abilities plus 1. Each opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card. If you control a demon or devil, you gain 2 life. For -2, you create a 1/1 red devil creature token with, quote, when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And for -7, target player draws 7 cards and loses 7 life. So if you sacrifice a 7 power creature, you get not only the 3 loyalty version, you'll get a 7 loyalty version ready to go right out the gates. That's spicy.
Yeah. Or if you have that 32 power valet, you can have a 32 casualty Mob Nixilis, I think was the nickname. Yeah, it seems nice. Pretty good. I mean, we've had a Jace that made a copy of itself off of Kicker, and then we had a Jace that made copies of itself from another way that I'm forgetting. Cunning Hastaway could make copies of itself.
Right.
This seems good. I mean, 3-mana planeswalkers are never anything to sneeze at, and they usually don't come with bodies attached. And this lets us make devils, which is pretty great.
It's great.
As a 3-mana planeswalker, I'm glad that the ultimate will take a lot of time to get to because it comes in with only 3 loyalty. And I think that's one of the mistakes that we see with like really powerful planeswalker is that when the middle ability is too strong or the ultimate's too easy to get to. But coming in at 3 and having an ultimate at 7 with a maximum of +1, we're looking pretty good. I think that this will be a solid card, but probably not break anything.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think we're sort of breaking, but it does feel very like cool and powerful to get basically two planeswalkers for sort of the price for 1, plus a sacrifice effect. If you want to, you don't have to.
Speaking of cool, look at this guy's jacket.
It's rad.
Look at his jacket.
It's cooler than we'll ever be.
Oh my God. The pinstripes and the rings. Oh, it's so good.
Very cool.
He's a mob boss.
He is a mob boss.
For my last preview here, an offer you can't refuse. For 1 blue mana instant uncommon. Man, I'm already here. I'm already here for it. 1 blue mana, counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Sorry, I countered your spell. Here's some gold.
Yeah.
That's where you're at. This card seems absolutely incredible in older formats. This is made to pitch with Force of Will. This stops any shenanigans with, I don't know, Stacks of the World or your crazy mana or your Ancestrals or whatever if you're going back that far. If you're going back to Modern, it stops your Things in the Ice or any other spells that you want to sort of have. Planeswalkers, of course, it pops off. This to me is you're exchanging resources and you're basically saying, I'm okay giving you 2 mana if you don't get to do whatever you wanted to do. Is that scary enough that I would rather you have the 2 treasure tokens than what you were doing? The answer almost always for these spells is yes. You would rather them just have 2 treasure tokens than resolve what they were about to resolve.
It depends on what the format ends up looking like. If more aggressive decks are good, then this will be, if a particular type of aggressive deck will be really good against them. Like if you have like an Embercleave sort of situation where they don't need the treasures, it actually doesn't help them by the time they're casting these spells. They certainly don't need any more mana. That would be really interesting. In the mirror match, I don't know, because I've seen like these lobster decks do kind of need infinite mana and they have infinite card draw. So it might actually kind of, the treasure might be helpful to them, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. This card unconditional counterspell for 1 mana. Always good. Always good? Pretty sure always good. Swan Song, Dispel, Envelop. Like, it's very hard for me to think of times where counter target type of spell, period, for 1 mana has ever been bad.
Right.
Give your opponent 2 treasures is dangerous. Right? Like, this is pretty bad against mono green.
Right.
But the trade-off of the more powerful the format, the better this card's going to be. So this is going to see play in Vintage 100%. This is going to see play in Legacy 100%, because it's a 1 mana hard counter and it follows the Force of Will rules of, I don't care if I 2-for-1 myself, I'm stopping what you're doing, which is more powerful than 2 of my cards. 2 treasures, go nuts, man. You can have 2 treasures. Also, the most important thing about this card is it's called An Offer You Can't Refuse, which,
look,
regardless of if this card were to be a tournament staple, would have made my list of 3 cards I wanted to talk about just because they named it.
Yeah, it reminds me of the D&D names where it was like a path, a fork in the road or whatever, where it's a card that says exactly what you want it to say.
Yeah, we definitely want a Sleeping with the Fishes spell. We hope we get it in the set. But the last thing I note here is I feel this card will be absolutely incredible in aggro decks. This is the card that you counter Meathook Massacre with. This is the card that you stop their Wraths. This is the card that you stop their Settle the Wreckage. This is mono blue tempo's absolute best friend. You don't care what you get in response. You just stop them doing the thing that stops you doing your thing. And so if there's like party decks, for example, Base Camp now in Alchemy does not enter the battlefield tapped, and oh my god, it's so sweet. It's super duper possibly OP these days, but we don't know yet. All I'm saying is 1 blue, no spell. Let's go.
I mean, it's going to be very difficult for me. It's this card is going to be in the top 5 best cards in the set.
Probably. I mean,
like, I can't imagine any. If it isn't, this set is bananas. Like, if this card is not one of the best 5 cards in the set, something has gone horrifically wrong.
This is like, if you think of a Swan Song that gave him a 2/2 flyer, okay. But, for me, I think of all the times where I'm playing against like a green deck and they have 1 million mana. So they have 1 million mana and resolve Ren in 7. This is still stopping it. You have 1 million mana plus 2. I don't care. You didn't get your Seeker's Chariot. You didn't get your Ren in 7. Thanks, bye. So let's move on here to Reuben's first card. What you got?
Hey, get in the car. Getaway Car is my first one. So Getaway Car is a 3 mana artifact vehicle. It's a 4/3 with haste that crews for 1. I mean, that's insane.
Oh boy.
And then whenever Getaway Car attacks or blocks, return up to 1 target creature that crewed it to its owner's hand. I mean, I want that anyway. I want Crystal Shard anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me I get to reuse comes into play or leaves play effects, if you're telling me that my first turn aggro creature, right, that is getting stonewalled by their 0-4 token from founding of what's that card? There's 0-4 walls. There's a bunch of 0-4 walls out there, but my 2/2 gets stonewalled immediately. You know what I mean? My Rabbit Battery gets stonewalled immediately. Right. Now the Getaway Car can still pound in there for damage, and oh, by the way, the creature that crewed it is safe from a Wrath, and the Getaway Car is safe from a Wrath. So I think this card is extremely good.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of creature-heavy decks with Rabbit Battery, they get in the initial damage, and then they get to deal the final blow by going wide, and this is going to tempo you out a fair amount. It's got similar stats to like a Brute Suit, that 3/4 for 3, that crews for 1. Brute Suit doesn't have haste, but it also doesn't tempo you out. So if you're not having ETB effects or something like that, I'm not sure. I don't know how this will pair up.
The first time I read this card, I thought you had to return the card that crewed it, but you don't. It's returned up to one target creature that crewed it. So I misread it, and I was like...
I made the same mistake.
Yeah, I thought it was like cool and thematic that you get it.
Why? That card is still good. Hold on. I'm going to die on this hill.
No, this card's still great.
This card would be great even if you had to return your Voldaran Epicures and whatnot to your hands.
Right. If that's what you have.
Get to.
If that's what you have. I'm saying like... You typically want to do a bunch of damage by being aggro and quick, but then you've kind of prevented yourself from having this maximum capacity for the final swing, which would be a problem.
So I'm thinking of like Kumano faces Kakazan, where you flip it and you play the Getaway Car and you smash in, you return Kumano back to your hand, and you're getting all these cool triggers or whatever. But if you don't want to and you like the board presence, you keep it on the battlefield. And that again, I misread it and it got just 10 times better. I already thought it was great, but I think it's just that much better when you have the ability to choose.
Okay, I thought it was fine until you pointed that out, because when I was listening, in my head, I heard you must return. I thought of it like as a sometimes just bad thing.
Right.
I will say, I guess that does make it better.
They got rid of any possible drawback. That's what I like about it. Any possible drawback has been removed.
Yes.
That's what I like. Reuben, what's your second card?
My second card is one of the Charm cycle, and I think it's the best, but it's close. It's so tough to get actual card draw in non-blue colors at instant speed, and Riveteers Charm lets you get it. Even though it's not strictly card draw, it's card draw. Riveteers Charm is Jund, so it's black, red, green for an uncommon instant. It has 3 modes. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker they control with the highest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. That's the most important mode. That gets rid of your opponent's Ulamogs. That gets rid of your opponent's Professor Onyxes and Teferi Hero of Dominarias. I mean, that is Crackling Doom. Crackling Doom was a 3-color card that did this and didn't have 2 other modes. So that is the mode that we're probably using the most often here. Then it also has exile the top 3 cards of your library until your next end step, you may play those cards. So this is late game gas. It's fuel. It's like end of turn, exile 3 cards, untap, play your 4th land from the pile, and then play one of those cards again. It's kind of like an expressive iteration, kind of like a weird. It's a bad draw 3, but it is a draw 3 for 3 mana. And then every once in a while, you just need to exile target player's graveyard. Sometimes you just need to do that, and this does that.
I love the charms. I still have a lot of the other charms from, which one was it? KTK, somewhere in there.
Well, there was Shards of Alara that they had the original.
Not those
they had Bant
ones.
Charms and things.
I mean, they've had, there
was the commands. Those came around in Construct here.
The cons charms, like Abzan Charm.
Yeah. Those are the ones I was thinking about. Like, so every time we have these like charm cycles, I always really enjoy them. They're super flexible. Yeah. And I think they make standard really interesting.
Back in the day. Sorry, go ahead.
They just make standard interesting.
No, I think they're great. And I think, ultimately, and I was complaining about this on Twitter, as I want to do. I was just like, they use the same ability on Rakdos Charm and Jund Charm and this charm. And I thought it was really interesting. It was a reply from a previous R&D member was like, sometimes it's good to have consistency, and that obviously, there's metagame concerns and you want to have abilities that, hit certain zones and whatever. But I also feel it was interesting to think of the consistency between the red-black charms, whether it's Rakdos or full Jund, that they do have that mode to make sure that you have an out to graveyard strategy. So I'll eat the crow when the crow is necessary to be eaten. Reuben, what's your third card?
Hey, they're giving white card draw these days. Some of it comes in the form of Connive, which we haven't talked about yet. This one comes in the form of Alliance, which we have talked about. Rumor Gatherer, I think, is a really interesting... I think it's going to be very powerful and limited. Potentially possible for constructed, but limited is where this is going to be a powerhouse. Colorless white for 2/1 elf wizard with Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry one. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card instead. So once again, cast Gather the Townsfolk, we scry one, then we draw a card. If we cast the I think it's Cabaretti Charm that makes 3 citizens or 2 citizens. 2 citizens. There's a way to make 3 citizens. However you make 3 citizens, you scry one, then you draw one, then you scry one again. If you cast Secure the Wastes, you're just scrying 85 for the turn. And you're just drawing a bunch of cards with a 2/1 on an uncommon in mono white. That's great.
Yeah, this is a really amazing card draw. And one of the things that is interesting is that all of these cards that we're looking at that have these abilities don't say when you cast the creature. It just says when a creature enters the battlefield. So if there is flicker effects, or if you're crewing your vehicle, or whatever the case may be, you're going to be getting a ton of value off these. And I think people underestimate how powerful and how quickly those things add up.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Your
is
Mysterious Limousine is going to definitely get some value there too.
Yes, please let Mysterious Limousine be good, please. That's all I want. Rumor Gatherer. This is a card, this is a card, one of those cards that I want it to be good and constructed. I want it to, because I want white card draw. It's just something we've really not gotten. So any little drip we get, I'll take. My concern is that basically it's a 3-mana 2/1 that doesn't affect the board, and you have to untap with it in order to make it do its thing. And when you're in constructed, every single turn counts 1,000,000%. So we'll see.
And we're competing with Welcoming Vampire in the exact same decks. So
Sky Shroud with the 3-mana exile apparition, Sky Shroud Apparition.
Oh, Skyclave Apparition for sure. Yeah, but that's doing something different. Welcoming Vampire is your card drawing 3-drop.
Yeah, yes. That's fair.
So if Welcoming Vampire is not seeing play, this won't see play. With that said, this is an uncommon. It is two relevant creature types, and it wants to see play in a different kind of deck, I feel. At least a slightly different kind of deck. So it just makes me happy. And the more cards that are white that say draw a card on them, the better.
I'll take it.
Agreed.
NerdGirl, what's your first card?
I'm not 100% sure which order you put them in, but I believe we're going to go with a... List, yeah. I tried to open the doc and it said I had to request permission. So
I see you're on it. Do you not
I don't
see
have
it?
a list.
Okay. I see it. You on there, but okay. Go ahead.
Oh, weird.
I put them in the list that you put in the chat, so go ahead.
Halo Fountain is going to be my first card. This is an interesting card, and the reason I put it on my list is because originally I thought when I read the abilities that it said tap, not untap. So what it is a 2 colorless 1 white for an artifact that says 1 white mana you can tap, untap a tapped creature you control, create a 1/1 green white citizen creature token. For 2 white, you can tap it, untap 2 creatures and draw a card. Pretty valuable. And then for 5 white mana, you can tap, untap 15 tapped creatures you control and win the game. So one of the things that you have to think about this is how are you actually tapping your creatures to make this valuable? Sometimes you have to get them into combat, possibly because there's vehicles we can crew, and then just move past combat and then untap the creatures if it's not safe to attack. But you could be in a situation where you have to kind of throw things under a bus to get the ability from this. So I thought it was a pretty unique card, and it's going to make a lot of interesting decision lines in gameplay.
It's interesting that, I mean, I like the idea that things that win the game in weird ways are mythic. That's cool. I like it a lot better than the saga that flipped over and dealt you damage and all this other stuff to win the game. This is way more interesting, I think. But ultimately, note that none of this has to happen at sorcery speed.
Yeah.
Any of this can happen instant speed. If you swing with 15 tokens, you can untap 15 and pay 5 and just win the game on the spot. I think that's really interesting. And anything that just like has you tap to untap a thing to make a thing, that's just neat. I'll take it.
I think the issue is, yes, you can untap them instant speed after you've gotten into combat, but my concern is that you won't be able to make 15 tokens because you have to get into combat multiple times to make more tokens. So you swing with the first 3 to make more, you untap them, great, but they still get eaten basically because they're just 1/1s. So it'll be hard to amass this amount without some sort of ability that allows you to tap your creatures without getting them into danger, which would be like a vehicle or something.
Or Convoke in Historic.
Or Earthcraft. Justice for Earthcraft.
Justice for Earthcraft. I got to work that one in there.
Convoke is spicy.
Convoke is very good. I like that one a lot.
I like it. All right. What's your second card?
All right. So my second card is an interesting one. You guys know I like white and green cards, so most of my cards are always going to be those. And we've seen some interesting cards fighting for the 1, 2, and 3 drop slot in our mono green decks that have been running rampant in the last year. So we're going to go ahead and talk about Gala Greeters. This is a 2-mana elf druid. It's a 1/1 rare. And it also has Alliance, which is whenever another creature enters a battlefield under your control, you can choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. So a maximum of 3 triggers only on this one, but they're all very good. You can put a +1/+1 counter on it. You can create a tapped treasure token. And you can also gain 2 life if you need that. So I feel like in the order that they're printed is probably, the order you're most often going to want to do these things. But at 2 mana, yeah, it's a little under rate, but it'll add up very, very quickly, especially if you're making cats and you're doing things with, the Cadillac card and things like that. This might, I think, see some play in Standard. I'm really excited about this card.
Well, as is also on the screen here, this is the box topper for the set booster box, where you're able to get a traditional foil version of this card in its unique version for the region: the English, Spanish, Russian, Brazilian, Portuguese, Korean, Italian, and so on. I have one here for screen for your review. I think the Japanese one is absolutely gorgeous. The French one looks amazing. But yeah, any of these different promos you can get, and I'll take Wizards trying new things with interesting cards.
That is really cool, actually. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's such a cool idea to have each different language representing what parties mean to them. And the English one of like getting out of the car and having the paparazzi there is crazy to me. I'm not sure if the like light bursts on the thing are actually cameras.
But you want them to be.
And if the lights are actually spotlights, but this is Great Gatsby. This just is the Great Gatsby on a Magic card, and that is wild.
And each unique culture has their own kind of unique feature of what they're showcasing, and it's absolutely terrific. I'd also note here, huge kudos to the play design team, as they're called these days. Create a tapped treasure token. I was going to
say it too.
A+ design. Like, it's not going to get broken this way, but it's going to still be fascinating and fun.
Well, the other thing too is even if they don't have other ways to break it, it also lowers the your ability to kind of chain off with it, because you could go first creature with the treasure, make the treasure to ramp you into another thing, get the +1/+1 counter, and be more aggressive. So it slows it down, and I feel like R&D did take their time with this card, and it shows.
Yeah, very nice. And so what is your final card?
All right, so my final card is a little bit selfish of me. It's not overly exciting, but I wanted to hear people's opinions on it, your guys's plus the chats. This is a thing that we're going to talk about in the realm of limited, and that's the card Strangle. I don't know how to really rate this card, so let's talk about 1 red mana for a sorcery speed lightning bolt that hits only creatures and planeswalkers. It still seems insanely busted. We have cards like Skewer the Critics that deal damage to creature and player, but sometimes if you can't deal damage, it costs 3. So this seems like an excellent limited removal spell, but it's kind of unique in the way that we've been seeing removal lately. Thoughts?
Wizards has done nothing but tempt us and get closer and closer to Lightning Bolt. I mean, I think you have to recognize, at least I recognize, it is really huge when Wizards uses a small single word name for a spell. This is Strangle. This is a whopping, 8 letters. This is the only Strangle that's ever going to be that isn't coming before something or someone strangle or strangling somebody. This is what Strangle does. And so my guess is they want this to be sort of a cool, maybe even a staple card of some sort. I'm not sure. I'm already going to call it. There is going to be a world where you have this card as a modal and it says deal 2 damage to a player or deal 3 damage to a creature or a planeswalker. Like, that's probably just going to happen because that's just how they do it. But as a card and a good piece of removal, I think it's fantastic and limited and an easy first pick. I just don't know if it can break into constructed.
It's interesting to me too, the art. I don't think it's going to break into constructed either. But like we're talking about Halo and family friendly and kids, and like we've seen less like gruesome scenes. But this is literally just like a guy being choked out with like, what is it called? Is it a garrote?
A garrote, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I remembered that.
I just call that a string, but sure.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I wouldn't expect to see something quite so graphic at this point, especially in a set when they're trying so hard to make it mobster feel, and then still at the same time remove it from crime and drugs. But then we're just like killing people in back alleys with ropes. Like, great.
And
it's pretty gruesome. Yeah. So we have Frostbite.
Right, but it's an instant speed.
No, I know. And it also has a barrier that you need to cross, which is you need 3 snow permanents. But that's the closest approximation that we have to Strangle.
Right.
Frostbite A was a limited all-star. I think that this is the same.
Sure.
And it saw play in constructed. I mean, how often do you really go face in not dedicated burn decks? Obviously, Skewer the Critics, you go face like a third to half the time. But, with your regular lightning bolts in your normal, blue-red tempo decks, 80% of the time they hit a creature or a planeswalker. And even when they don't, and let's say you just sit there with a frost, your opponent's at 3 and you have a frostbite in your hand. If you still have power on the board, you're still in a good position. So I don't think it's impossible for Strangle to see constructed play.
Well, I guess we shall see. So that is all of the previews we're going to talk about this week. There'll be, of course, more next week as we get tons and tons of previews over the next week for the set. And we move out of the first pick into Gather the Townsfolk thanks to our sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. Tell them we sent you when you go see them. For Gather the Townsfolk, we want to talk a little bit about here for the Superdrop. There is a new secret lair because it's a day that ends in Y. Then that means we get to go check out what that means. And I'm going to bring it up on screen right now.
I don't like these. These make me uncomfy.
Let's get these on screen right now so you guys can take a look at them. These are really interesting. NerdGirl, does any of these jump out at you?
I mean, I'm always the worst person to ask about the secret layers, right? Because I am not a huge fan of them in general. I definitely don't like the foils because I think most of them are very questionable quality-wise. But yeah, they're all pretty. I think that if there's an art for you, it's great. I am a little sad that they are being pushed quite as hard as they are. But no, they're all beautiful.
I mean, Wizards needs to keep that $1 billion a year up, y'all. Yeah. And as such, they put very expensive cards like $50 Atraxas into $50 boxes of foils. Brea's worth a few dollars. Yidris is worth a few bucks, but Atraxa is the winner here.
Sure.
For the showcase Streets of New Capenna. And they only offer it in the gilded foil version. So if you don't like foils, this is kind of by default not your jam. But I do think they are absolutely gorgeous. And I think it's an easy throw in the closet, and we'll talk in 5 years about how sweet these are.
Is Brea wearing a cowboy hat?
I hope she could be. That'd be great.
Kind of looks like it, yeah.
That looks like a cowboy hat to me.
But it's like made out of the same stringy stuff that like they're made out of. So
she's rocking the fedora, right? The
Capenna
that's
fedora. That's what it is.
Very nice, very nice. Now Matt Jukes is up next, and I had not seen Matt Jukes' artwork, and this was just crazy interesting. That there's just so many sort of different ways, hues, shades of sort of landscapes that he does that no one else really does the way he does, I guess is the way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look up Matt Jukes' artwork, you'll see a lot of art like this. And this is the Rootbound Crag, Glacial Fortress, Drowned Catacombs, set of lands. And they're certainly sweet, useful, and powerful, and they look really neat.
Yeah, those ones have been printed a lot. I think the art is simple, but still very pretty. I like that a lot. Sometimes you get, sometimes you don't need more. I think a lot of the you got the special border with the crazy art and the, special foiling. And then, it just gets to be kind of where you can't really appreciate it anymore. And this is just kind of the polar opposite side of that. And it's nice once in a while. Yeah,
this is one of those. This was one of those kind of secret layers that I feel could be very expensive because it's very unique, because it's just lands, because it's really weird looking. We've never seen lands that look like this ever. And it's also very unlikely to be seen again for some time. So we'll see. The artist series, Magali Villanov, is that right?
Villanov, yeah.
Villanov is absolutely gorgeous. Unbelievably gorgeous. Death Shadow, Mother of Runes, Elvish Mystic, and her Forest. Wow. These are just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, very cool. We've long espoused the virtues of Magali, and the artworks that were chosen here are pretty spectacular. I think Death Shadow is the money winner here, although there are precious few Elvish Mystics of promotional value, so that's always cool.
This is an interesting idea that I wish they would do something similar, but I don't like this one of Forest. It's beautiful, that's great, but I wish there was a way to get these in multiples. So what I would recommend would be something like even just take that out and then make it an optional additional thing to purchase 10 of those lands. I would totally do that. So it's like buy the secret lair for $40. You have the option to buy 10 forests for an additional $15. I'm sold. Please let me not have a bajillion one-off arts.
But I think Wizards would rather you just buy $400 worth of secret layers to get the 10.
But I think it's sort of the same idea between getting to choose your land on Arena. I would buy more lands, right? At a certain point, you would make more money by giving people the option, because I'm just not going to buy this, even if I love the forest, because I need a set.
This to me is that I think you look at the raw dollar values of these cards, it doesn't necessarily equal the $40, but the super unique special forest. It is going to be difficult to get sets of this forest. It is going to be difficult to get sets of this Elvish Mystic. But if you only have one Elvish Mystic in your commander deck, this is the most sweet version I can imagine you getting.
And for the cards, that makes sense. For the Elvish Mystic, I'm not especially because a lot of this stuff is marketed towards EDH player. my only concern is the forest.
Sure. And it will be expensive, I assure you. Siddharth, I think that's right. Siddharth Chattervetti got to show us Concordant Crossroads, ladies and gentlemen. Has not been printed since Chronicles. That is a world enchantment, everybody. That's a $30 enchantment. Wow. Along with Nomad Outpost and Island and Ghost Quarter. Again, this is there's a basic land in there, but the winner here is Concordant Crossroads. It's not close.
Yeah.
Ooh, $48. Never mind. My God. Oof.
The other three are not good. I don't understand why Nomad Outpost is in here, but Ghost Quarter is fine. Fine. We have our basic land again.
It's in there because you can't sell it with less than 3 or 4 cards. And you have enough excitement in there, so let's think of something random to put in there that doesn't actually have any excitement points.
You have
desperately needed
enough excitement. You have 48 excitement points for Concordant Crossroads, and then quarter points for everybody else.
We needed somewhere to reprint Nomad Outpost. All right, that's fine.
Outpost. Nomad Outpost, everybody. And that's going to be the sweetest version you're ever going to find of it. Let's see here. Wayne Reynolds has an incredible artist series here with Torbrand, Thane of Red Fell, SRAM, Senior Edificer, Balthor the Defiled, the first reprint, I believe, of that card, along with Depala Pilot Exemplar. And these are all incredible versions.
Yeah, Wayne wanted to make dwarves, and dwarves they gave him.
Yep, the Torbrand's better, I think, than the original.
Oh, yeah.
Not close.
Yeah.
Super cool. And the Depala looks amazing. But Balthor getting reprinted is fantastic. And these are all great little promo versions of these cards. Left-handed magic cards.
This is the one I was saying that made me very uncomfy. I don't want to look at these. I don't want to look at these.
Why?
They make me uncomfy.
It's amazing. This is like the Black Mirror version of Magic. This is really weird.
I don't like these. These make me feel weird.
I have never seen such an uncanny valley. Honest to God. Like, everything's upside down. This is like, when I dream, I can see, Magic cards like this. Not in the real world where they actually swapped everything. This was originally an April's Fool's joke that they, I think, decided this is cool enough. Let's just make them.
I don't know. The arm wrestling one's the only one that stands out to me. The other one's like, it's so almost not even noticeable to me.
It's a lot. For me, it's just weird.
I guess it's cool. And especially if you are a lefty, this is going to make you happier that these exist. Empress Galena needed another reprint.
It's only got one printing. It's $18.5.
It still only has one printing. I thought it had another one.
Nope, this is it. So
the three commanders are the big deal here, and these are the best versions you're going to get.
Yeah, so Empress Galena is a almost $19 card from Invasion. Has not been printed since Invasion back in 2000. So, yeah, you finally got a reprint here in the weirdest version they could possibly have made. So, okay then. Just some totally normal guys. Oh my God. It has been 23 years before they have reprinted Goblin Settler. Isn't that incredible? It showed up in Starter 99 and it has not been back since. It's like a $50+ card because it's old, not because it's incredibly powerful. But between Goblin Settler, Void Winnower, Collector Oof, and Vengevine, who's had just a lot of promos, quite frankly, these look super rad.
I like Vengevine a lot. I'm glad to see it getting a unique printing like this.
Yeah. These make me happy. I don't know why. I know that the left-handed Magic cards look more like Magic cards, and maybe that's the problem. You did say Uncanny Valley, and I think that's right. These look like a children's book, and that makes me happy, and I love them.
Yeah, I mean, Void Winnower is a $16+ card, like, already. Goblin Settler is a question mark. We have no idea how expensive this card's going to end up being. Vengevine's had plenty of promos and reprints, and Collector Oof is worth a few dollars, as I understand it, but but certainly a unique little set here you have with all those guys.
Great.
So you have multiple versions, of course, of ways to buy them, and you can check those out at secretlair.wizards.com if you want to. But always fun to see unique and strange versions of cards that we love. Let's see here. Quickly wanted to point out that Tangles. This was one of these short stories for Magic the Gathering back in September 2021. Was nominated for a Hugo for Best Short Story.
That's a big deal. Nominated for a Hugo?
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Tangles was the one about Ren and Teferi meeting on Innistrad.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember reading this one and almost bursting into tears in the first 3 paragraphs because it's such a sad origin story. It's just it's a really well written piece, and I really enjoyed it.
Nice. I haven't seen a lot of them, but I actually did a co-op where CGB, his wife and me, we did a fun little thing where we read through the story, and it was really interesting. So it's nice that I actually know what this one is, considering I don't have a lot of story background.
Nice. Well, that's fantastic. So the link to the story itself is in the show notes, or feel free, of course, to Google it. But it's always fantastic when the outside world checks out Magic stuff and nominates them for things. Let's see here. Didn't have a ton of stuff about the arena announcements. Ultra Pro did acquire Legion supplies, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
In particular, that honestly, and some of the ways that kind of, was Steve Port's company. Steve Port used to run a lot of the Grand Prix, and super cool guy. Awesome. And Legion Supplies honestly started as the company that would make the weird meme sleeves that nobody else would make. They made the bacon sleeves. They made like coffee sleeves. They would make custom sleeves. So back in the day when Star City Games made custom sleeves, the Don't Daze Me Bro, era, and even throughout all of the Creature Collection stuff, Legion Supplies were the ones who made those. And so they were purchased by Ultra Pro, and I'm sure that has to do with sort of these sleeves that they're selling, and the production facilities would also be nice, I can only imagine. And yeah, just kind of an interesting move thing that we should know about.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we don't have a lot of Desperate Ravens, but we do want you to check out our altar sleeves. You can support the show by using the code MagicMikes at checkout for 5% off anything in the store, including a set of exclusive sleeves featuring the Magic Mikes crew at altersleeves.com/MagicMikes. Check them out. Tell them we sent you and say hello. We want to turn the corner here to the finisher. Now, Gala Greeters is getting a different art treatment for every language it's printed in, featuring costumes and beverages and snacks from the countries from which those languages derive. Italian masquerade masks, Russian dancers, Spanish tapas, and treats, and the list goes on and on. So tell me, if you had your own Gala Greeters, what would your ideal party be, Reuben?
Well, I'm not much of a party goer. I'm more of a party, thanks for inviting me, but I'll pass-er. So my Gala Greeters would feature my absolute favorite party-associated thing, an event rescheduled notification. Because nothing gives me more serotonin than a party being delayed that I was dreading going to in the first place.
Nice. The nerd struggle.
Yeah,
Speaking of MTGNerdGirl.
All right. Well, I like parties, but my favorite parties are ones where it's just me and the people I already know. So my Gala Greeters would feature comfy blankets, my friends, my dog, and a big bowl of popcorn on a promo exclusive that would be known as the Buy a Box Office promo.
Yeah.
Buy a box office promo.
Nice, nice, nice. Now, I used to love a good night out on the town, but a night on the town in Tennessee is a bit different than a night out on the town in Tokyo or Paris or Paris, as you would say. So my Gala Greeters would feature the touchstones of my homeland, acid wash jeans, cowboy boots, and a mechanical bull. Get your copy, y'all, of the honky tonk foil. Because, see, when you strum the honky tonk foil, it plays Achy Breaky Heart, and they have to pay for the rights for that. Now, that ends another live episode of Magic Mikes. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Reuben.
Thank you. See you soon.
That's right. And we will move on here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com and Alter Sleeves, my co-host, Nerd Girl, and Reuben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online in our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week. Same time, same place for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.